Welcome everyone for the virtual launch of my new book, which is called Happy Habits. And as you know myself by my last name, it's actually a play on words. Today is 28th of July, and I'm very happy that I'm launching this book virtually with you for those who are here live and also those who will watch the recording. And I'm accompanied by three co-facilitators today, which is Natalie, who wrote the foreword for the book, which is Rachel, happiness coach, who also contributed more than a page of her wisdom, and my colleague Frederick, who also shared parts of this book. Thank you, everyone. And I'm very happy to see some of others of you who also contributed or already started to read the book. So the way how I saw these launch today, I normally run LinkedIn webinars on the last Monday of the week. So a little bit of the infrastructure comes from there, but I will add a little bit away from there because what I want to have is a combination of, on one side, some slides, but then also an interview with Natalie, with Rachel and Frederick about what actually habits mean for them. So let's get started. For everyone who doesn't know me yet, my name is Gunnar. I moved to Australia in 2016 with a long career in IT, and I published some books. And by today, on the 28th, I'm happy that this is my book number 28. So that really actually happened. So let me show you quickly the agenda. And for those who attend my regular LinkedIn webinars might remember that I like to have it in three topics and all of them have the same letter. So first, I will talk about the introduction, why this book actually exists from background to concept. The next one, the inspiration, talking to Natalie, Rachel, and Frederick. And then getting into integration to building an ecosystem around that. Yes, because there's more than a book. Natalie actually wrote today on LinkedIn that is starting a movement. That's what I hope. So a bit of housekeeping, please stay muted unless you would like to talk. We will also use the chat. I will have three questions to you, and I'm very keen to see what you all will contribute there. You will receive the slides, maybe a little bit updates as I go, and the recording typically within 12 hours. That's the beauty of working in email marketing. And watch out for something special at the end, because there will be one winner. So that's for sure. So let's get started. And by the way, interesting thing, some of you attended beforehand my LinkedIn webinars. And when I restarted them together with someone, it was actually Natalie Tran from Melbourne, who has been my first guest in this series. So thank you for being here as well today. Really like this. In the meantime, a couple of others joined. I see Jane, I see Jane, I see iPhone. Hi, iPhone. I see Kieran, Joel, so many more. Thank you for attending today. I really appreciate that. So let's get going. So what do we have in store today? And you see three people here who kind of helped me on the way, on the journey. And I would like to tell a bit untypical way about that. So let's introduce them. But before we do this, actually, I would like to ask you a question. And that is this one. I will type in the chat as well. What makes you happy? Is it a concrete place? Is it a warm feeling? Is it a schnitzel? Or what is it? Anything, what comes into your mind? What makes you happy? Thank you for all of the answers that are coming in. I really like that. A lot about relationships, friends, connections, kids, family. I'm the only one who wants to watch Schnitzel. Really like this. Thank you. There's a lot of good values here, health and wellness, freedom. Sometimes we take it for granted. Writing. Thank you. I really like that one. So it can be a place, it can be a relationship, a feeling that comes from this or something else. Thank you. So let's go on. I mentioned one word. Let me quickly introduce you, particularly today, to my dad. So my father Herman, who had his birthday normally on the 28th of July, passed away 4 years ago. He taught me a lot about habits. That's where it comes from. Actually, it's also our last name, but I never thought it that English before moving to Australia in 2016. This is where you can see us here together with one habit that he developed. Whenever he went into theater, into seeing operas, he would have a schnitzel afterwards. Think about 10 p.m., 10:30 p.m. is quite late, but it became a habit. In addition to the the event of going to a theater very often became his own habit as well, that he really enjoyed that. And he still say, I still remember a sentence where he said he totally missed one performance out of 15 of one particular opera called Lohengrin because he couldn't attend. So the regularity, the consistency, that's what I learned from my father. So then what he also practiced quite well, and it comes in my book, is habit stacking. You do one thing, and if you would like to develop another habit, you put it to that. So the schnitzel came after the opera. It wouldn't stand by itself. And that was a kind of a ritual, like putting it into the DNA. That was him and me on my first visit to Vienna in 2002. Many of you might have been to Vienna. I know, Frederick, you just now, a couple of weeks ago, when you shared me the schnitzel for that. And I'm happy that also my parents had their golden wedding anniversary in Vienna and surely had a good schnitzel. So it plays a role, this type of schnitzel in my life. But also, when it came to this one, here's my dad as well in his home. And it was that he was writing about opera with such a passion that he would do this ongoingly and develop the consistency. And he taught me one thing, and that is manifestation. You would see him already having something achieved. That's why I start writing my books from the back, because I want to have this launch event. And then back what I look when it should be related to my dad on today, on his birthday, when should I start writing the book? So this manifestation approach and the regularity is what my dad taught me. And also I then compiled the first 100 of his opera critics that he would love to write afterwards in a first book when he had his birthday in 2012. For his big surprise, another one 5 years later when he retired and had all the time to write about it, and a final last version in 21. And I'm grateful that he still had the chance to see this. So whoever wrote about happiness connected to family, here we have him, Gunnar Habitz, 3 books. It's in German, and I think you can see the connection. And that is only one part of the family where I learned something from, consistently doing something. Let me introduce you also to my mom, who is in the call today. So then my mom wrote a book and I helped her for this, which took maybe 1.5 years. And that is the middle one, which in English is called Parkinson's So What? That actually became also an Amazon bestseller back then in April. I'm very happy for that. And as soon as she started this, and that's an interesting thing, when this book came out, the first one at the age of 79, it's never too late to write a book. But then adding another book, the second one just afterwards in April, and I heard the third one is nearly ready. That is what I like about it. So you can develop something late and then get going, do another one, get feedback, and really make that happen. I'm very happy and very proud that my family is writing. Really happy for that one. So what did I do from there? When I say my books by the number, I have 28 with this new one here called Happy Habits. I started to write travel books for quite a while. But who's buying a travel book these days? You can go somewhere without the need for that. So therefore, I went to write business books. In May 23, on my birthday, 4th of May, I had the chance to present Connect and Act, my first business book. And that writing the book and what came out of it has a decent place in Happy Habits as well, because I turned a series of writing content on LinkedIn into a habit. There are many of us who don't do this and won't like to get started with something. It's a huge undertaking. But once you have it, it's so simple. It is ongoing. It is, you would miss something without that. And I described this. If you would take it in Lego bricks, you take a vertical one to get started, what a mountain. And then you add, once you achieve this, a series of horizontal ones, and then you get going. And I'm happy that some of you who attended the book launch 2 years ago are also in the call here. Like Jane Jackson shared the stage with me. Really enjoyed that because she also added some feedback. A year later, I wrote Social Selling for Job Seekers, which I actually have also in front of me here, which is the same book I thought just for job seekers. And then I thought, oh, I do one for startups, which is on the bottom right, but it's postponed to September. I even compiled something thanks to Jane Turner, who's in the call. Thanks to this, I had the chance to speak about how do I come to create the habit of writing more books. And then I shared inside of that event last year in end of November that I'm writing this book called Lead Not Manage. And one person bought it right on the spot. And believe me, the book didn't even exist. 2 days later, I had it finished and out. So that is what I thought I do, business books. But one day, something happened. And that is connected to this visit. And I visited my uncle, Olin, who's in the call, in Coogee on Easter Saturday. And I said, okay, I don't go back to the city after our lovely lunch. And afternoon, I go to Coogee Beach. Very colorful. You can see this beautiful atmosphere. And I thought, let's sit down at a bench just by myself and read a book about discipline from a gentleman called J.R. Heimbigner. He's in the US, just became father again 2 days ago. And he had this concept of mini books, which are shorter. So in his case, maybe 60, 70 pages, because you can write them fast. I thought, okay, that's cool. After maybe 20 pages in, I thought, hang on, why should I read a book about discipline, but better write one by myself? And that's how I came on that day, in this moment, came on the idea to finally utilize what I wanted to do, and that's to write this book about habits. That's how it all started. I took all of the idea of what I had from my family background about manifestation and developing habits and do something constantly. Like I'm posting on LinkedIn for 348 weeks in a row about the same topic and same hashtag. That is soon 7 years. That turned into my job at Hootsuite. That turned further into my current dream role at Active Campaign. That is what habits can do. They can do quite a lot. But sometimes it needs something external to get started. And that is often the missing trigger event. So what I've done then, from there, I went to really thinking a lot and typing into my phone. I went to, when it got colder in that Easter Saturday evening, I went to a bar in the Swiss hotel in Sydney, because I knew one thing, this bar is has a very high ceiling. That's important for me to get the thoughts flowing. And I came on my model. I call it the 4P model of happy habits, which talks about 4 topics, all with the same letter. That's a typical Gunnar approach to it. First, I talk about a pause, some kind of disruption, like an external trigger, or a reflection, like an internal one, kind of gives us a calling to find out what's going on. In my case, I wrote about 3 layoffs which I had. The first one got me to Sydney, 2016, but also a couple of other pauses. And many of us have this type of moment where life is changing, if we want it or not. But it's sometimes difficult when life goes on normally to change something, to change habit. But living in 5 countries, of course, means I had the chance to do this a couple of more often. Then the second part is to plan. And that is where we can really think about when we have whatever type of pause, then we can have the chance to figure out what's going well, what's not, and how can we add something, finding out what it is, particularly when it comes to areas like job search, where I've spent some time in. Thanks, Jane Jackson, for helping me out on cover letters back then. But that's a chance where you only need to plan these things and make that happen and try to find new routines and add them and get a real momentum out of it. With this approach of planning that, it's time to practice. Because when you think, oh, you can easily start something, it sometimes takes an effort. And then you need to repeat this and get into a rhythm and a flow. And that helps to win a couple of times and more often. And then you also change from purely action into identity, not just doing, but being. And that is something that is really, really critical. But in my view, working in the partnership business and not selling directly for quite a while, I strongly believe the fourth element helps to make it perfect, and that is to partner. I can try myself to do something. And I give you an example. Working at Active Campaign, we have our sales director who has two young children, and he read somewhere in a newspaper about some children poverty in Australia that normally you would not think about. And he found a charity. There was some kind of a team approach to say in the month of June 2025, we would do some exercises together. Could be running, not with me, or walking to, on one side, raise funds, but on the other side, also to note down in the power of a team how many kilometers we wanted to achieve. And I said, in the month of June, I will walk 100 kilometers. Could I do it by myself? Do I need an external trigger? Possibly. And it went even better with the team. So we have done every couple of days some kind of check-in outside of the platform where we reported everything to ensure that we can hit it. I've been very stable. My 100 on a month kilometers, pretty much like 3 kilometers a day. I made two, and on the weekends more. Some of my mates who have been part of the team, they needed this type of reflection that somebody is doing it constantly, so that then they would run 20 over the weekend and then nothing again. So this accountability and support and the shared identity of achieving something together, that helps to stick habits. And therefore, I'm very happy that I work in partnership because that makes me happy that that is working together when we stop doing it alone. Sorry for the typo at the end of the slide. That's a really important topic. So that is exactly how I created the structure of the book based on these four elements: pause, plan, practice, and partner. Being born on the fourth, not a surprise that the book therefore has um, four chapters. So that's how I thought makes most sense. So then I thought I can write it for myself, but I need also to live this accountability in public. So therefore, number one, I thought, why should it be one book when it could be seven? Seven is a number of mastery, but let's get this first one out. And then I thought I write about it regularly on my Substack, which is my newsletter platform. I call it Writing in Cafes, and soon will be called Business Book Builder. So I wrote the progress every week for maybe 5, 6 weeks in the process. And then I thought, I need to have a good cover. So that is very, very important. But where could I find it? I went to our bookstore in Dimmicks, and I really like these books from Ryan Holiday. Clearly the name, big title, one image, and a wonderful color. And look, even the book on the left. That's from Wade Hoffman, who founded LinkedIn back in the day. Looks good, huh? And I thought, I crowdsourced actually the idea of my cover for this book a couple of weeks ago. Look what I came up with. There's the next image. No, that was too far. Oh, it's not there. It didn't copy in the slide. Sorry. But you can imagine, you know the picture and it comes later, that it looks quite similar. So I made that somehow. So, but that was about the book, how it came into being. And what I've done actually was one thing which was quite unusual. Let me go back into this one here. As I found these books and I thought, they look quite good. How can I make it happen that I ensure I will hit the book being published on time before today? And I put myself into a competition. That is something that's not written in the book, if I tell this. I had the idea of writing the book LinkedIn for Startups. And some of you, like Kieran is in the call, knows this because he's been in the moment when I told this. 11 months ago. And I thought, easy, I've done two, I can do a third one, but I never made it. You know this when you go to a restaurant, the waiter comes and says, do you want a dessert? And you don't ask, well, the answer is probably no. So when it comes to developing the habit of writing, you always have the alternative of not writing. Obviously, there's so many other things you can do. So I thought LinkedIn for Startups didn't get on. And I had the new process or project of Happy Habits, and I wanted to write that. So then I decided within 1 month, I will write either this or that. Like if the waitress comes and says, do you want to have our fresh tiramisu, which just right, or maybe the lovely fresh sorbet, one of those two, then you don't eat no dessert. So that's the thing. I wrote one day Happy Habits, second day Happy Habits, third day I looked at the cover, fourth day I needed a bit of a mental break and I wrote LinkedIn for Startups. Then I wrote LinkedIn for Startups and said, hang on, I need to go back to the habits. So every day within 1 month, that was the month of May, I wrote at least in either or, but I did not write nothing. And that is another way of stacking habits. Never have done that beforehand. Looks like crazy, but that made it really happen. Therefore, the book is there, Happy Habits is out, and LinkedIn for Startup will come. That's for sure. So let's get into our interviews. But before we do this, before we talk to Natalie, then Rachel, then Frederick, quick question to everyone. What is a good habit you're proud of performing regularly? For me, writing on LinkedIn every 348 weeks. Yeah, Rachel, pausing. We are coming to this one. Exercising body and mind, journaling and writing, early morning workouts. Nice. This sounds like good things. Really enjoyed that. So that is good and wonderful. Thank you for this one. So that is fine. But then let's go. Daily walks around Sydney Park. Wonderful. I like this. Writing many good things. I like that. Thank you for that. So then let's go into the interviews. So I would like to first welcome to the stage Natalie Tran from Melbourne. Natalie, are you there?
Hi,
If you could,
yeah,
hi, if you could be so kind and just introduce yourself, I will stop sharing so that we can also see yourself speaking. Wonderful.
awesome.
A
Thank
little bit
you.
about yourself. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, first of all, Gunnar, congratulations. I still remember you coming to visit Melbourne for a couple of things, and then we caught up, and remember the conversation around habits and this book, and it's not that long ago, isn't it? So, a big congratulations, John, and thank you for having me in the foreword as well as being here tonight as well. So, for those, I can see so many familiar faces, and some I adore, like Jane Jackson. I all love all your posts and content on LinkedIn. Love, love, love. My name's Natalie, for those who I haven't met before. I have a background in finance and I worked on Wall Street for a long, long time, as well as a chartered accountant. And I actually changed my careers about 9 years ago now and pretty much became a coach. And I work in business and transitions, helping mid-career people with transitioning between different roles, in particularly getting them into really purpose-aligned careers and businesses. So that's what I do at the moment. I also love social media. I love strategizing around all of that. So I love all of Gunnar's books, and I live and breathe around intentionality in both planning and showing up consistently.
Wonderful.
So so this, it was just wonderful to be part of your forward. And today I've got the part of the plan, okay, and Gunnar's gone through the different P's that he's talked about. And I had a really good think about what I could share with you around planning. And I woke up this morning and said, you know what, I'm going to share that big story around how things have changed so much for me around what I think about planning. I won't talk too much about the disruption. So an event happened, and I'll summarize it very quickly. But I think there's a book in the works. I think if I'm going to get myself ready for this, but the disruption is that so after I decided that I was going to change careers, I actually got wooed by some recruiters. They spent a whole year with me going, let's get you overseas. You are amazing. We're going to get you. They spent a whole year. They were from the UK. There's a couple of partners from Ireland as well, and so we planned the whole year. And I actually planned everything. So my husband resigned from his job. So I'll support you. Let's go. Let's do it. We don't have kids at the moment. Let's go. And so we sold all the stuff, decided to keep only a few things and packed the rest, and it was just being shipped out to the overseas country that we were going to go to. And so said goodbye to our families and was a bit indefinite, not quite sure when we'll be back and all of that. But this is what happened, guys. So the night before we were meant to fly out, nothing, everything's pretty good. And it was the night when September 11th happened, the night before we meant to fly out. And in the morning, so can you imagine us in our apartment with two suitcases, the rest is all gone. And in the morning, on the way to the airport, we were so efficient. We even said to the person that's buying our car, we'll drop it off the airport, you pick it up. So planning's my thing, right? Planning's my thing. And on the way to the airport, I received a call from the recruiter, and he said, you know what? Just tear up your plane tickets. You don't need to hop on anymore. And he gave me 10 seconds of time, and then he hung up. I couldn't call back or anything. There was nothing. Imagine you planned your whole year, uprooted everything. Like there's nothing. Like we sold the apartment, the car's about to be sold. Don't hop on the plane. Don't worry about coming here. Can't talk anymore about it to you. Goodbye. And couldn't dial back. And so, can you imagine that moment where you go, okay, I'm in big trouble and I'm in finance. September 11th just happened. Hubby's just resigned from his job. And I think it took me, wow, it took me, like, when you feel like your head is spinning? That was the first time that my head spun. And planning mode Nat comes on. I called up the person who's about to buy the car and I said, you really don't need a red Barina, do you? Holden Barina. You don't really need one. That's the car I was driving at the time. And oh gosh, Jane, yeah, it was crazy. And I think about it now, it's surreal. And anyway, so the guy said, okay, don't worry about the car. I feel your situation, take it. So I drove back to the apartment and I sat down and we had to sort out this thing with the recruiter and what was happening with this role and all of that. But guess what? The first thing that hit my mind was at the time, how am I going to plan the next few months, right? How am I going to get out of this? And we sat there and, this sounds like a long time ago, and it is, but there was no social media, wasn't like that. And there was, those giant, thick, big phones at the time, as mobiles. There weren't smartphones. We didn't have anything. Didn't even have a microwave. So we sat there on the floor. We went to buy a blow-up mattress, and the P in Gunnar's book, the plan happened pretty much with us on a blow-up mattress. So we've given up, both our careers, and so the first thing that even though we knew there were lots of steps to take, but the first thing we did was we said, how are we going to plan? And it was so important to do this part. So I won't dwell on all of the horrible, part around the pause and around the mental health and all of that at the time. But the planning that worked was we went out to buy a giant whiteboard and bought a microwave, and we called up our landlord and said, hey, you don't need our apartment for another month. Can we just have it for another month before we try and rent another place? And the planning looked like this. The goal was to get employed again, right? The big goal, overarching goal. And then I asked myself the question, which I also ask many of my clients now as well. I asked myself, okay, what is it that what are the systems that is going to make me fail right now? When I don't want to wake up and fail this and feel this reality and deal with it, what are the habits that is going to get me going to get that goal of finding a job? All right, for both of us. And so that was the first time I understood that meaning of plan for the worst. I didn't plan for the worst. And so now I'm dealing with the worst, right? And habits can form out of the worst situations. And it's never about calm mornings and clear schedules. It happens when you are like in deep poo-poo, right? That's was the situation we were in. And I had to really question all the systems that I had going for myself because I know that if the systems didn't work, it's not going to work. And so the planning became milestones. And then I drew up three three P's as well. We didn't want to have too many. One giant goal to get employed, both of us, three P's. And we said, what are the planning milestones in here? And there has to be three for each P. We didn't want too many, didn't want to have just one as well. Have enough so that we could have things to work on. That means 3, 6, 9, 9 priorities. And then we had some strategic tasks mapped to the priorities.
Wow.
And that was what kept us going. So it wasn't about going straight into the strategic task or tasks and ring up recruiters and go nuts and all of that, but to have a plan to hold up all of these emotions, hold up those days when you don't want to wake up and deal with the situation and deal with trying to find a place to live at the same time as finding a place to work at as well. So it became a very interesting situation. And then so that made me really learn about that, the ability to really work your systems at each milestone. So if
Wow.
anyone here, yeah, is working on any big goals like that, have those planning milestones. They got me through those 9 milestones, planning milestones, I call them. And then I mapped 5 or 6 tasks maximum to each of those priorities or the planning priorities. And yeah, that allowed me to get through it. And you know what the hardest part was? Is to do the basic things.
Mm.
That when things go bad, the basic things like looking after yourself goes out the window. And so part of the P's, we had to put down that we look after ourselves, that we talk about things, talk to our parents, talk to our friends, get support. And so, yeah, it's really important to get these planning milestones done.
So now, as we thank you for that story, Natalie. I remember you shared a little bit when we met first time, but if you would stay out of what came afterwards, so in order to improve the habit, what is your top tip?
My top tip is to keep things visual, actually, especially if you're a visual
Mm.
person as well. It's part of accountability. Doesn't matter if it's a sticky note, a whiteboard, a scribble, a phone screenshot, have it there because and really align and feel it. Because when in doubt, always ask yourself, does this plan support the person I'm becoming or the person I'm trying to outgrow?
Mm.
And that's the question I ask myself all the time.
Wonderful. Really, really like that. Thank you so much also for the contribution from the others in the meantime. And this visual aspect, yeah, never asked you about that. Thank you. I like that.
No worries.
So then getting to the stage, Rachel. Rachel and I met thanks to BNI chapters here in Sydney. And what I really very much like on it, that whenever I meet her, then Rachel is always smiling. She is the one, when I think about happiness, which came first into my mind when I thought about who can I have as another collaborator for the book. So then, Rachel, tell us a little bit about yourself and also why I associate you with the word pause.
Yes, definitely. Thank you for having me to share this virtual stage, Gunnar. And hi everyone, I'm Rachel Wingman. As a Gunnar say, a triple happiness coach, and I'm creator of the pause movement. Then when it comes to I was still I remember the day when Gunnar's invited me to be contributing to this book. Then that is the pause aligned with happiness. And I asked myself a question, okay, is it that this is right for me? Is aligned with my values, then makes me, oh, when it comes to happiness, I always say yes. And then that's what I've been here today as well. By reading your chapter, definitely really moved me and remind me what and why I started the pause movement. Because before I stepped into this wellness business, I also spent over 15 years in the IT and software industry, working as a corporate, climbing all the corporate ladder from the high performance space and learn a lot of different important and how we're going to be co-creating something um, that is makes it more like a valuable and five like a environment for people they work in the corporate. That is the things that makes me to start pause. And now from the corporate world, I offer a happiness program based on my seven wonders. That is the 360 approach from to wellness across skin, body, mind, and mental wellness. And definitely design something to support personal and professional growth without burnout. And
Wonderful.
mission is simple. Help people lead a life without burnout. That is something what we are here today to pause.
Good one. So when it comes to pause, how you put the words pause and developing habits together?
Yes, so when you're talking about the pause, developing the habits, that is very interesting. That is the story I've got similar as like a Natalie. Definitely is kind of the life turning point. I wasn't really thinking of the pause habits at the beginning when I starting my entrepreneur journey. I do think about, oh, okay, it looked like everything's looking well because I'm running a multiple business as a leader. I've got a team, a mom of two teenagers, and also kind of become a happy wife to my partners. Then looks like I'm checking in every single boxes. But inside, I'm still actually feeling exhausted. To be honest, oh, okay, I've got a lot of different responsibility, especially all those title, right? Oh, you're the business owner, you're the leader, oh, you're blah, 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 blah. Then one time my good friend actually asked me, oh, could you help me to do the babysitting her 9 years old like a boy? Then I say, oh yes, of course. Then during my babysitting, this very gifted talent 9 years Brian, then I asked him, oh, finish your work early, then we could go and play outside. Then he looked at me and say, oh, no, Rachel, I don't want to go like I finish my work early because if I finish early today and tomorrow I will have more work to do. Then that moment I really aha. Then what's our role here to be a parent, to be a leader, to be a business owner? Are we creating the system actually like a not rewarding for the people who does their work efficiently? We actually kind of penalize it. We instead like a reward, we definitely they feel they have been penalties to get more work to do. That's not right. Then we don't want to do that. Then definitely that is a light bulb moment. I believe then, oh no, I reflect and rethink what's my role as a leader, as a parent. Then I starting to pause and slowing down things. and reflect truly what I really want in my business and what is my strong why to not working in my corporate job and start jumping into this wellness industry. Yeah.
Wonderful. Really like that. What is your top tip when it comes to habits to improve that?
I do have a talk to because this world here right now definitely is overwhelming every day. It's going so fast, right? Sometimes I do forget about to pause as well. So every time actually I will put an affirmation like a kind of note and telling myself I read aloud it's okay to slow it down. That's no rush to the journey. And then I want to be enjoy whatever state I of arriving even it's ups and down, because this is the way I feel the fulfilling by overcome different challenges in my life as well. I definitely read it aloud for myself. And before I take action, I will ask myself, is this aligned with my values or just one of my to-do list? Because choosing a habit is not, you don't want more habits because it's kind of bit enough, right? In so many different tasks. However, we need to come up with a habit that we feel right, not right for others, but feel right for yourself, aligned with your personal values. Definitely, this is my top tips.
Thank you. Thank you. I really like that. And you shouldn't have too many habits. There's only two habits living in Australia, my wife and me. There's couple of them living in Germany, my mom, my brother, and his kids. But yeah, it's funny when I hear the word, I always look, was it about me? No, it wasn't. It's quite funny. Thank you, Rachel. And the next one is Frederick. So funny story about him. So Frederick, if you are already there, so please come to the
I'm here.
stage as
Yep.
well. Thank you. So
I'm
Frederick and I, we work together as partner managers at Active Campaign. And the very funny thing is when my boss told me that we found a great candidate for same role than me for the German speaking market, who even wrote books. So I thought, did you try to clone me? No, not at all. Someone who wrote even more books than myself and is younger than me and a professional really who I like a lot. And I'm grateful that also Frederick contributed to the book on the topic of partnership, because that's what we are all about. And therefore, Frederick, quick introduction from yourself.
Yep, I mean, Gunnar said it all. So, hello everybody, I'm Frederick. I actually am right now in Ireland. I live in Ireland. So, other side of the world, here still early mornings. So, I know that it's getting late for you guys. So, I've been working in sales, business development, partnerships for 15 years-ish. Worked for big Fortune 500 companies through and through. At the moment, I'm working for Active Campaign. I started writing books probably 10 years ago, sort of. And it all came also through a habit, right? As it's all the conversation in this session as well. So there is always some sort of event, or mostly, that will trigger a new habit. In my case, it was the passing of my grandfather. And his story was so fascinating. And I thought I have to capture that. Because if I don't capture that, obviously the years go by, some points are going to get lost in time. And that really triggered me to go into the, let's say, the fiction book writing. And eventually I noticed, being a people leader as well, I noticed that actually I'm not an expert in any of these areas like selling or business development, but I know 1% more than someone that is starting right now. So I might as well just capture that information. And if that helps out someone that is starting, even better. And that was sort of my habit that I developed. So I went from, let's say, writing fiction books to nonfiction, mostly around business, about fintech. That's also what I've been doing before I joined Active Campaign. I've done 7 years in the fintech world. So I have a few books also published on payment systems and so on and so forth. And I have probably, and what Gunnar said earlier as well about him, switching books and starting one and pausing the other, I'm guilty of that as well. I have probably around 50, if not more, started projects that I never finish, but they're all there. I know that I'm going to finish them eventually. And it's always a matter of finding the right mindset to continue to write them.
And what I like, Frederick, that you work in the partnership game like myself. So this means you're working with the middleman, as some people would call it, in our case with marketing agencies who then sell our software to clients. What do you like on the partnership and how does this find its way into Habitz?
Yeah, the thing about partnerships is that you can obviously try to conquer the world together. It's probably going to be hard. If you have people that you can partner up and grow together, it's going to make your life easier. That's not just applicable for business, but it's also applicable for habits. So if you're thinking about, let's say you want to lose weight or you want to start to go to the gym and do more frequent exercise, it's obviously something you have to start on yourself. But if you bring a friend, a partner along with you in the journey, it's going to make life easier. And it's the same thing with partnerships that we build out in ActiveCampaign, right? I could try to sell to 1,000 people. If I have a network of partners that help me to achieve that goal, it's going to be way easier.
Exactly. And for those who do not understand that in IT we have partners, which is nearly half of the business, it's like if we like milk, yes, but we do not drink while meeting the cow directly. So then we get maybe to the supermarket who got it from distribution and all of this one. That whole is actually 75% of world trade is running through partners. And I applied it also to the way of Habitz because of this accountability. One day, our boss Tony said, as I recognize we have two writers in it. And I said, yeah, it's collaboration. And Frederick said, no, it's competition. And at the end, it's both, but it's also accountability. So then it's nice to have someone to really help. And I see a bit of influence of myself into your book covers. So now they look like a series. Well done on that one.
Yeah, and again, for me, it's always important to have a healthy competition, right? It's not about being, unhealthy. On the matter, it's like, okay, if I know that Gunnar is writing a new book, that might also push me to think about another title. If Gunnar knows that I'm finishing a book, he might also think, okay, maybe it's time to start another one, and so on and so forth. And it's always good to have people again, and that's a habit that I developed also in the last few months. Anyways, it's something that as soon as you start, you have someone that you're partnering up with, and that person is holding you accountable.
Thank you. So that is basically what I wanted to ask, a top tip to really embrace on the accountability in a healthy way.
So the way that I would define it is that right habits, they rarely thrive in isolation. Mm-hmm. I think that the best habits thrive when you partner up.
Yeah, really like that one. Good one. Thank you. Thank you so much, Frederick. So let me read you. So before I go to the next part on the slides to show the ecosystem of Happy Habits, thank you to Natalie, to Rachel, and also to Frederick. Let me read not the whole book, but one page from it. So the book itself has about 21,000 words, which is half from my LinkedIn book back then, but very much to the point. Let me read one part of one page. It's called One Habit at a Time. You have reached the final pages, but your journey through Habitland is not the end. Instead, you are at the beginning of something better. A life you build intentionally, one habit at a time. We began with a disruption, often something external or internal that interrupted your rhythm. But what you have done since is nothing short of transformation. You paused with purpose. You planned with care. You practiced with a rhythm and invited others on your journey, which is a work to shift your identity. If there's one thing I hope you carry forward, think about this. Habits are not about being perfect. They're about being present, consistently, gently, and with compassion, even when life gets messy, and it does often in the most unexpected ways. This book is not here to give you rules. It's here to offer rhythm and to remind you that change doesn't happen in a single breakthrough. Change happens when you show up again and again on purpose. You now have the tools, the 4P framework, your daily and weekly rituals, and the support structures that make habits easier to sustain. You also know that real momentum is the byproduct of meaningful effort, aligned action, and shared intention. That was one page from the conclusion of the book. There's even something more to it, of course. And let me go back and share one thing about what's going on further in the book. So thank you for your contribution to this one. There are more who added a couple of half pages in it with their reflection of the book because of what they got early as early readers. So now let's go to the third one. And I wanted to ask you it's not this one, sorry, you need to go back one. The next one here. What is a bad habit? What is a bad habit you are keen to change soon? And don't worry, I will not post this on social media. It won't get into the recording. But I will call out some without naming the person, what's coming up here. So procrastination, hard to pronounce that as a non-native English speaker. Putting up work until it's nearly dark, good one. Doom scrolling, oh, I know that. I thought, where do I find the time to write the book? I found it, simple thing. I moved the Instagram and Facebook apps from the top screen of my iPhone into a folder which is very far away. That works. That got me exactly 30 minutes. Not eating breakfast, I read here. Eat less chocolate. It's so good. Yeah, so there's a couple of things that we are at least aware of, and that is a good thing to have. So let me show you the ecosystem approach. So, and you see also by the color, it's teal. Normally I have turquoise, so it's get a bit stronger. And here we have the cover. It doesn't exist at the moment as hardcover on the way. The paperback, the first are already in shipping process from Amazon. That's great. And it will also be available in bookstores by mid of August. So that's for sure. For those who like to read it electronically, so what you already see, what came first out on Amazon is the Kindle version. And everyone who would like to read the full layout, there's also a way how you can get the PDF. It's written inside the book on the conclusion chapter, where I just read the page. The page afterward tells how you can get the PDF version of this book. So that's this one. And if you go to this link, which is from mybook.to, that goes exactly in that Amazon marketplace where you're located. So for Natalie, it goes to the amazon.com.au. For my mom, it goes to the German. For Frederick, it goes to the Irish or UK. For each one different. That's quite clever on it. So then you can get the book over there. So that's this one. Next one, that's first part of it. Second part, I just created a new newsletter for it called Happy Habits. What a surprise, on Substack. And what I will put out there are two areas. On one side, I have a series I call 421 Habit. I got inspired by James Clear, who is the author of the very famous book Atomic Habits. Might have seen that. Funny enough, he's now following me on Substack. What a surprise. And the 421 Habit talks about something like 4 ideas that I've had, and then 2 things to put something in action, and then 1 question. And I want to create, and now tell you, as you all my accountability partners, I want to write this every single Wednesday. And typically I would write maybe 1 month ahead of time, but to ensure also to get the reflection from it. So 421 Habit. The first one here is start before you're ready. I put out a lot about that book before the book was ready on purpose. The other one coming on Sundays, Sunday Habits, which are a bit more longer articles about. And this here actually talked about the book from J.R. Heimbichler, the book Discipline. And all the time reflecting topics around habits, something more practical, something more philosophical. But these 2, a short one, Wednesdays, and a longer one on Sundays are coming there. And I would like to get this a bit broader. It's not the only Substack I have, it's the new Substack, and I really enjoy that. And one part of the book is already there. It's a bonus chapter called The Window into Happiness from our trip to Bhutan, the country of happiness. That's at the end of the book. So that is the second part to it. And there's a QR code for this to just grab that. and I hope to get more readers there. The next one is something new, and that's this. I started to create my online course I call Happy Habits in Action, because if you just do something, I mean, reading a book, but just reading it without doing anything with it, it won't work. So I put the 4 Ps across 7 weeks. Each of them have 5 lessons, and each lesson goes by average 3 minutes only. So it's not that long, but I put it really into 7 weeks, and I will most likely release them on a weekly basis until everything is fully recorded, because I need to record them. But everything is written. I'm very happy for this one. If you click on the QR code over here, it just goes only to my regular website, Happy Habits, where you can type your email address. But I do hope that when I send the recording by tomorrow morning, that already the page for the course is up there. I created online courses before. It's not that big of a surprise for me to do this. But what I want is to go from reading into transformation. And that is how you can make that happen. And you can see things here like the second part to it, stack habits like Lego. I use Lego bricks in my books as well, in my LinkedIn books, and similar way you can do it here as well. Some of you have heard the term MVP, minimum viable product, which is some kind of a smaller product companies create to get first customers, learn from them and make it bigger. I do the same here with habits. Then, of course, I go further towards partnership, but also showcase the happiness part to it. You will really like it. And you can see on the bottom left, not only that was me recording it in lovely Tasmania, part of my courses, but the numbers. 7 is the number of mastery in good old medieval guild. 5 is the number for the craftsman who can work wherever. And 3 is the number of the apprentice. 3 minutes, small things, small videos, short steps, daily activities. And when you put them and stack them up, you get to a mastery level. Therefore, it's 7 weeks and 7 modules. There's a lot of purpose behind that. So that's the course to it. So let's show what else do we have. I would like to thank particularly everyone who contributed to creating this book. Here you see part of it while I've been typing it, sitting at my favorite cafe, ampersand in Sydney, Paddington. I would like to thank Sophie, particularly for your contribution as well as one of those 4 with some longer piece in the book. Mario, Frederick, thank you also for speaking up. Sybil, Tanvi, Dimka, Sal, you on the call. Thank you. Katja, JR for your book Discipline. Harley, Fleur, you have been in the call as well. Veronica, Lloyd, also with a longer piece. Natalie, thank you for the forward. Belle for the editing. Without that, it would not sound like proper English. Rachel, really appreciate this and seeing you always happy. Eileen and Mehmet from Medium. Wonderful. Without all of you, this book would not exist. It takes a village to raise a child, as they say, and that is my village. Thank you for that one. But there's one more thing. A winner of my new online course. One person of you can win something. And it's a funny thing to announce it without knowing exactly what I wanted to ask. So let's see. Get in the chat. So who will win my new online course? The key question to answer. Are you ready to type? The question will be, what was the trigger event that made Natalie plan? Who was it? Who remembers what was the trigger event that Natalie said in the call? Yes, the 9/11. Wonderful. Camilla, you're first. Kieran, bad. Good one. Okay. Thank you. Let's say like this. Let's be fair. 3 winners. Thank you. Kieran, Camilla, you will get the course. But it's not fully recorded. So allow that I get it into a drip feed. So there was a question from Alina, you miss the 3 and the 5. So when 7 is a mastery, 5 is a craftsman, and 3 is the apprentice. Knowing the difference, the apprentice is the one who learns something like a craft. As soon as you are out of the learning process, and you're allowed to work wherever, then you are a craftsman. And when you get even further, that you're allowed to teach, then you are the master. Like it still works in many, many areas. Thank you, Camelia. That's book number 28. Today's the 28th. That tells me book number 29, I need to launch on the 29th, but doesn't always work that way. So thank you for this one. There's one thing I would like to do, and that would be a group photo for all of you who would like to be on it. And let's just see how I can make that happen. I will stop sharing the slides, and then I will get the view. How can we get the view with everyone on that? And then from there, we can maybe take that approach. I go here in the view and show the gallery way. So we have many of you who have a photo on there. Thank you for that one. So that is good. Maybe not my note taker, but many of you have. I will just create a collection then later out of it. So unfortunately, we do not have the book as paperback. Even I haven't received it. It's on the way to be shipped, but at least it will happen. So if anyone could please smile, it would be quite nice. Smile. That's good. And maybe one more photo where we can wave in whatever direction you would like to do. That would be quite nice as well. One moment. Thank you. One more. Thank you. So this was my way of running a virtual book launch instead of the regular face-to-face one, which I had 2 years ago as well. I had a virtual one during COVID as well, for an earlier one during my birthday. That was also fun. Very much thank you to Frederick, to Rachel, to Natalie, and not to forget who's not in today. Without that book discipline, this whole thing wouldn't happen. Without the lunch at Olin's place in Coogee, I would not have come on the right thought. And without my parents, I would not know what habits are. Thank you.